So I'm not sure if you guys watched my video from earlier today where I shared the fact that David went back home in between shows earlier this month and how he used a private jet to do so. Well, since I posted that video, I was sent a couple of things, documents, and I was also in contact with someone who is directly involved in all of this. So I want to clarify a couple of things. So the first thing is that according to friends of Celeste, she was last in communication with them at the end of July. We don't have a specific date. We just have a rough ETA, end of July. She stopped responding back to messages, stopped sending messages out, okay? Now, David was supposed to be starting his Withered tour on July 30th, 2025. That is according to original merch that he put out for this tour. He was supposed to perform in San Francisco on July 30th. He was supposed to perform in Phoenix, Arizona on August 1st, and then was supposed to perform in Del Mar, California on the 2nd and on the 5th. The first 3 shows, however, were canceled. He didn't start his tour on July 30th. He instead started the tour on August 5th, 6 days late. So I'm wondering why shows were canceled and why his start date for tour was ultimately pushed back. Is it a coincidence that the time period that he was unable to perform just so happens to be the same time period that Celeste stops communicating with her friends? Now let's fast forward to August 26, 2025. David is away and he's on tour. A neighbor in the area where his Tesla was ultimately abandoned called and complained over this vehicle being left there for, quote, an extended amount of time. Now remember, according to people in this neighborhood, a few of them said that they noticed the car there for about a week or two. A few of them said that they noticed that the car was there for close to a month. And despite what is being shared online, none of the neighbors actually ever recalled this vehicle moving once since it was parked there. The next day, August 27th, 2025, a member from law enforcement goes to check out this vehicle and they chalk the ground by the tires so that if the car was moved, they would know because the chalk would be messed up and the chalk would also be on the tire. Now they leave and end up coming back on September 3rd, 2025 around 2:51 p.m. and they notice that the car had still not moved. So they cite it, they leave again, and then on September 5th, return and the car is towed. A few days later on September 8th, that is when the tow yard called the police for a foul smell coming from the vehicle. And this was obviously when Celeste Rivas Hernandez's body was ultimately found, though they did not identify her that day. Now remember what law enforcement said at the beginning of this case when she was first found. The decedent was found severely decomposed as if she had been inside the vehicle for an extended period of time, and her body was said to have been wrapped in a bag. Now, what I've looked into is that a trash bag, a thick trash bag, especially when wrapped, when there's not so much air getting inside, as well as if the bag is double bagged, triple bagged, depending on how strong the bag is, could delay the smell of decomposition. It doesn't stop it, it doesn't mask it forever, but it does delay it, which would explain why maybe people were not smelling something coming from the vehicle right away. Although there were a few neighbors that said that they did smell something, but they just didn't know what it was. So essentially the bag wrapped around her could have been why the smell was not as bad as it could have been in August as it was at the beginning of September. So based on these facts, and this video is strictly facts, this isn't me speculating of when he could have gone back to LA in between shows. Based on the facts, Celeste stops communicating with friends at the end of July. David cancels his first few shows at the end of July and the beginning of August. David's Tesla is abandoned, i.e. parked on the side of the road for weeks up to a month without being moved. If David was responsible for Celeste's death, and or if he was the reason why she was in the trunk of his Tesla, he had to have done this before he went on tour. Now I know earlier today I posted this video right here of David in between shows. He posted this video on September 1st, 2025 from home, and it was posted to his prayer page, and I assumed that this was his home in LA, but I was looking at his older TikTok videos and it appears that this home is actually his mom's home, his childhood home, and this is in Texas, which would make sense. He took a PJ from Canada to Texas to perform with Caliuchis on August 31st, 2025. So it's probably likely that he, instead of flying all the way back to LA, just went to his parents' home in Texas. So right now, based on the facts, I don't see any proof indicating that David flew back to California in between shows while he was on tour. Could he have? Definitely, but if we're just going off of facts, I don't see any proof of that right now. So again, it's looking more like he did this before tour if he was the one who did this.